Good morning, everybody. This is E-bikeguy channel, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about batteries once again, and it's not about batteries in general, like the cells, the Samsung, LG, Molicel, EVEs, stuff like that. So, by the way, that is old Sparky that's sitting to my left. That is one hell of a welder and very expensive, by the way. That's what I want to talk to you about. So it's basically going to be the materials you need to build your own battery. And I always encourage DIY. Every time I do my videos on either e-bikes or building batteries, I do encourage it. But there's some things you need to know when doing so. And so today's topic, we're going to be doing battery building. So as the last video y'all seen, it was about building batteries for the economy people, that want to just want the best range possible, and they can afford those type of batteries. This is going to be going towards the high performance batteries because some people they like to go fast, and they need a battery that can supply the power to their controller and to the motor. And the thing is, saying with that type of battery, need to know what's involved into building a battery like that. Okay. So I'm not going to show you how to build one today, but I'm going to show you some of the materials that you need into building a high performance battery. Okay. So I'm going to be putting up some materials. I'm going to be, if y'all notice, there's a motion sensor in my daughter's room right here. So if you see it kind of go dim and it goes bright again, she's in on a tablet. So that's why y'all kind of see it goes dim and goes brighter right quick. Okay. But let's go back to what I'm saying. So there's a lot of materials that people use. There's some different methods, different techniques that people use to build batteries, such as cell holders. I use glue. I use tape. People use cell holders, like I was saying. Some people use metal cases. And some people, use other different methods, like even wood, to secure their batteries. But I always say to start off small. On my last video, I said just start off small, starting when you want to build a battery. Get some cells that are cheap, they're not gonna, or they're no good, and you use that to start building, putting your parallel series together. You can start off with about like maybe 4S, start with a 4S battery, then go on from there. Most of the e-bikes that start off on 10S, which is 36 volts, and go up from there. I could be wrong, could be 24 volts too, but we're gonna just do what you see on YouTube almost on day-to-day basis is 36 volts and on up. 48 volts is probably the mainstream. After that, it's 52, 60, 72, and so forth and so forth. Okay, so some of the materials you need to use. Now, this is going to be a high amp battery, not a high amp hours, but once the cells, some cells, when you use a high amp hour, it's going to correlate to high discharge as well. Okay, and we're going to be talking about those cells as well. Okay, now. For one thing, when you get a battery, we're talking about a high discharge battery, something that's exceeding 150 amps, because you can go on AliExpress and get or Amazon and get one of those stuff bumper batteries that got a 150 discharge with with a BMS in it for I think $1,600. The last time I checked, they might be cheaper. I might have to go back and do some more research. And a lot of people want to do research. Now this is going back to my customer. So my customer brought a timing bike from me. Recently he needs a new battery. So, I was talking about, he was doing his research and he's seen batteries for no less than $1,000. That's that will up to his specs. Well, this e-bike that I built him has a 72850 controller, which is a 450 amp controller with a QS273. Now, last time I checked, I haven't yet to seen any battery that can supply 450 amps or better for under $1,000. Maybe about maybe 300, 200 amps, but you need a battery 450 amps. And we're talking about discharge here. We're not talking about amp hour, because you can find amp hours, large amp hour batteries on AliExpress for dirt cheap. And sometimes the advertisement is not always what it is. like Mirages, okay? So if you see a Halon pack, it says 72 volt, 70 amp hour batteries, chances are that is not a 70 amp hour battery, more like a 20 or 25 amp hour battery, you know, unless it's a jumbo shark Halon case. Okay, now you want to build your own battery, and you're pretty sure that you're ready. Let me tell you what you need. Now we're talking about high discharge, okay? When I mean talking about the you know, say high amp hour batteries, because you really don't need the materials that I'm about to present for you now to build a high amp hour battery, okay? So we can't get that mixed up with each other, okay? Now, first thing you're gonna need the cells, okay? You're gonna need some cells that has a high amp discharge rate, like at least 30 or better, okay? 25 if you're using the Samsung 50E cells, 50S cells. But you need a battery cells that has a high discharge. You can get a P or like a 18650 moly cell P28As. They have new cells out. There's a lot of cells. There's a lot of tablet cells, and we're gonna go into that in a minute. So you need a battery. You need cells like that. Okay. So you're gonna need at least about 13 in a row, 13 parallel. Okay. It depends on what kind of cells you use. If you're using lower discharge, you need more parallel, okay? So if you got a 14 amp discharge, you need almost about 20 and 24 P, more than that to get a high amp battery, okay? So I'm gonna go over some material that you're gonna need if you want to start building your own battery. That is a good way to save money, but at the same time, you need to know the risk involved in building the battery, especially a high amp battery, and more P, more series of connections, safety precautionary that you need to take into building the battery. So like I say, first and foremost, you're going to need the cells, okay? We're going to give just an example. Let's just say one of my tummy bike batteries, a 54 amp hour battery, which is a 585 amp battery if you're using the moly cell P42As. You're going to need 260 of those. At the time being, on 18650 battery store, you can get those for dirt cheap right now. So if you need a battery like that and you need some cells, that high discharge cells, I best advise you to go ahead and grab them now before the prices goes up. Also, there are tablet cells. You got the JP40s out there. You got EBE 50 LPs out there, which are the cells I'm going to be using. Those are going to be a lot. It's more expensive. The moly cell P50Bs are more expensive. The P45Bs, they went down. They were $7. Now they down like $4 some change. You're definitely going to need to get you some high amp cells. I will put a link in the description where you can get some cells from 1860 Battery Store. My friend Nick at 500D DIY amp. I keep forgetting his YouTube channel, but I will put his store in the description where you can acquire those cells as well. Okay, so you need 260 of those cells. You're going to be looking at roughly about $900 to $1,000 just to acquire those cells yourself. Okay, and now you have the cells. Now you need materials. So Amazon, go on Amazon, you can get some glue sticks if you want to glue your cells together, or you can go and get some cell holders from AliExpress. The honeycomb style, you wanted the ones that you can clip together like Legos or something like that. You can actually get those if you wish to go that route. And then you're gonna that's a little more money to acquire the stuff necessary to get those cell holders. You're gonna need insulator rings. So I'm gonna put these up. So you're gonna need some insulator rings or fish paper. Get both if you want to. You want to insulate your parallel groups like most people always tell me to do. You're gonna just get some fish paper, and I use fish paper too. Insulator rings, they insulate the positive side of the battery. You're gonna need those if you don't want to accidentally weld on the negative side, which is right here, right at the edge, and you can call it short or you can damage the cell, depending on what kind of weld you get. So you got insulator rings. You're gonna need cap done tape. You can get this from Amazon. If you want to go the easy way, you can acquire some bus bars. Okay, this is where you solder this is where you solder your leads go. You know, it's like your discharge wire. This is the like the end of the series. If you go like 24S, 20S, this is actually the bus bar right here. Okay, this is 1 inch thick. Okay, so this is a pretty thick bus bar, or you can get some of this. Right now, since the tariffs are going up, this is 0.15 nickel. I think this is per nickel. Per nickel will be more expensive than regular steel. So this is 0.3. So this is 0.3 nickel plated steel. Okay, this is gonna be more cheaper than the per nickel. Okay, so you're gonna need some of that. You're also gonna need copper, and I'm gonna tell you why you need this. And after I, get done naming all the material, most of the materials you need. So you need some copper sheet. This is like 30 millimeters wide right here, maybe 1.5 inches, looks like, so, or 1.25 inches. You're gonna need some of that, and this two together is almost $125. Okay, since the tariffs have went up, so it's a lot involved. So you're gonna need, having some fish paper. Okay, now for your amp hour guys, this have a backing adhesive to it, so you can stick this to your cells. And then get an active balancer. I wouldn't even recommend. I used to run my batteries without one of these or a BMS for a chain. So either you get an active balancer or a BMS that's capable of discharging 400 to 500 amps. You're gonna pay a lot more for a BMS than you will the active balancer. Do know that. There's a lot more, man. There's a lot of stuff, a lot more materials. I didn't even, even mention. Now, the most expensive part in all of this, well, besides the sales, probably the second one is going to be the welder. You got to get a good welder. You don't have to get nothing high end like an H11H or an A11A or something like that. I think a 15 kilowatt welder would do just fine, but I just opted to get this because I had the money at the time. But you got to get a good welder because you don't want these things coming apart. When you tack this thing together with your spot welder, the last thing you need for this to start peeling off and you're having a connection and disconnecting problem. You want these cells to be really, really good welded, and I'm talking about to the point where you have to take pliers and you have to just twist that sucker. Then eventually, what will happen, especially on the negative side, you're gonna pop a hole on this negative side of this battery. So I mean, once it's set, it's pretty much set. You know what I mean? But you can repair your battery if you have to, if you want to replace the cells. If you pop a hole in a bad cell, I mean, you're gonna toss it out anyways, recycle it, and then just get you some new cells and weld it back up. Get your active balance BMS on there, and you're good to go. So you got a good welder. There's plenty of welders out there. Do not spend $150 on welder. That is not going to work, man. It's not even going to weld 0.3 copper. You only need a welder that's going to put at least 10 or better kilowatts. Okay, that's how much power you need to do this. You know what I'm saying? If you want a reliable battery pack. Okay, now you're gonna need solder, because you gotta get your leads. You gotta solder your leads in. You gotta get a good solder. You can't go out cheap with a solder. I'm telling you this from experience. You know what I'm saying? I went with the cheapest solder possible, and it didn't get hot enough. So I was having cold solders on my discharge leads, and then next thing you know, my battery, my bike won't turn on. Oh, what's happened? Then I wiggle down there. Oh, it's turned on. Oh, it's off. It's turned on. It's off. And that's just a cold solder. It popped. So you want to get a good soldering iron, so that way when that solder get hot and it melts that solder, and also get good solder too. So I got this from Harbor Freight, best solder on the planet, in my opinion. I tried them for solder from Amazon, and it just didn't work. But it is a little toxic. Discharge wire. You're going to need some discharge wire. If you're building something like a 450 amp battery, you're going to need at least 6 gauge of battery. Okay, at least 6 gauge wire or better, or 210 gauge wires. Solder those together. Get a QSA connector. Get the V2, the 600 amp peak. Those connectors will work just fine. And depending on what kind of bike you have. But we're talking about something on a bike like I have, the frame. Now, something more heavier, you need to go heavy duty, you know. So, like I say, that's just a few stuff that I mentioned. You know what I'm saying? You don't need a good charger. You're gonna need a good, which if you already have, XT60 connector if you're using it, you know what I'm saying, for your charging port. And I mean, that kind of sums it up though. But yeah, it is expensive. Do your research. Go on 1860 Battery Store or DIY500amp.com. I think that's what his site is. Go acquire some cells. You're gonna need, like, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna need a little bit in parallel. If you're trying to, we talking about 450 amps or better now, you're gonna need at least 12 or 13 depending on what kind of cells you get. Now if you get those very high-end cells like the EVE or the MPay cells, then you can have a little bit less parallel. If you go on monocell, you need a little more. You need 13 or better. 10 in parallel is 450. That's, you know, 450 continuous, but you want to try to build a little bit better than 10. I would say 11, 12 P at best, you know what I mean? So you can have that threshold of not pulling the maximum continuous amps out of that cell, you know. But just, it's a lot involved, and it is dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, it is dangerous. Even though I encourage a lot of people to do DIY on their battery builds, just be warned, it is dangerous. I make mistakes all the time when I'm working on these batteries. When I even get shocked when I'm welding and I have my hand on, you know what I'm saying, on one of the cells that's already been welded. I get shocked on my elbow. But you can use some padding on, you know what I'm saying, on that battery to protect you from getting shocked, or protect, like if you have the nickel strip is not welded, you slip, and that goes into another serious connection that causes a short, and you can cause a lot of heat mess, you know what I mean? But I've been doing it for a while, so it's second nature to me that I can just do it without, you know, needing magnets or tape to hold it down. I can do it without that, you know what I'm saying? But before then, yeah, I was making the mistakes, you know what I'm saying? And I was making mistakes when I first built my 54 amp hour mega range battery. If y'all seen on video, I don't know if I deleted it or not. But anyway, so I was using thin ass nickel and some thin ass copper, and I was really senile that I wanted to do this on my own. I didn't look at nobody else's YouTube channel and see how they did it, and until I was having heating issues, that I was wondering why my cells or my battery pack was getting hot. And then until I met Gary Hensley from Cyberworks, and he was telling me about why my battery was heating up. And then I had some other people, but other people, and y'all know who I'm talking about, other people didn't tell me that, you know what I'm saying, how to correct it. They go out and flat and tell me, oh, you're going to catch a fire, you're going to burn up, that joint going to work. Yeah, it's going to make 72 volts if the connection's right. They're going to, you know what I'm saying, my glue gun fell over. But yeah, they're gonna make connection, it's going to work, but how long is going to work? You know what I'm saying, I get stuff like that. No type of constructive criticism when I, you know, like, okay, so tell me how this works, tell me how to do this, you know what I mean? And then go turn around and make a video about it, you know. That's just embarrassing to me, you know what I mean? Just tell me, man, don't make no video about it, you know what I mean? Just let me know what I need to do to correct that, and then I will do that, you know, because I was very happy in doing that. But anyways, so I met those two guys, and they gave me some pointers, they gave me some advice on how to do it, and that's the reason why, you know what I'm saying, sharing my experience with y'all. Also, I had a battery from a company that I repaired, and when I opened it up and I saw how they was doing it too, and I was like, yeah, that's how it works, that's how it works. So now I'm starting to build my batteries with this method, you know what I'm saying, with the copper and nickel sandwiched together. And it's just been better, you know what I'm saying. Now I don't have no heating issues or anything like that, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I learned a lot, and I'm still learning. I'm not a battery expert, nor that I'm trying to be. I'm just trying to share my experience with y'all guys, so that way, if when y'all want to build your own battery, y'all can take my advice or anybody's advice on YouTube or some type of book or through a phone call. You know what I'm saying? Either way, absorb that knowledge, so that way you will know the road ahead to building your own pack. If you're not that comfortable, then you can source it from a company. You can source from me. There's plenty of battery builders that will be happy to build it. But just let you know, it is not cheap. Okay, batteries like that, 450 amps, it is not cheap. Okay, you're gonna have to pay. Okay, if you're gonna pay somebody to build your battery. Okay, and I learned that the hard way, going to AliExpress, getting those 72 volt batteries, that wasn't even capable of 80 amps. Okay, it says it on the description, maximum peak is 150. Oh yeah, I can peak that out. I can run a Cyberton 72-150 on that, and I'll be fine as hell. No, it wasn't the case. Man, I couldn't even get that bike out the driveway when I had it set to the max. It wouldn't even go. It would go and it'll shut right back off. I said, well, I thought this thing had a 80 BMS with a 120, 150 peak. I was supposed to peak this out for about 10 to 15 seconds. You know, no, that thing wouldn't even go. So, so be careful what place you're going to source your batteries. Okay, that's all I want to tell you. That, and note to self that it is not cheap, and it's not even cheap just building it. You know what I'm saying? You will save money from labor and overhead, yes. But just getting the materials, it's gonna cost you too, especially the sales. So I just want to let you know that especially me, I'm not trying to rob nobody, you know, but I do have to get some type of money so that I can feed my kids and pay my rent and everything, you know. So it's just business at the end of the day. So it's nothing personal. And then it's even when it comes to getting, you know what I'm saying, buying a car from a bank, or renting a house, or, you know, even as much as buying a candy from the candy store. You can't just take that candy store, oh, I give you like 50 cents on a dollar, you know, the candy worth $1, you get 50. No, they want their whole money and then tax. That's just business, you know. Nothing to them, nothing to you, or nothing like that. Just, you know, that's what it is. So anyways, I'm going to go and end this video just to show you the materials that you need when you want to build your own battery, where to source them out. I get all this stuff from AliExpress. The captor tape, the insulator rings, I get that from Amazon, because you're not going to find nothing like this on Amazon. I tried already. It's just some stuff you're not going to find on Amazon. But anyways, just heed my advice. If you want, you can take it. I'm going to upload this video. I've not been uploading videos back to back, because I just want to let everybody know that, you know, so what's involved when you're building your battery, and what's involved when you're trying to build a high amp discharge battery. Okay, it's going to be heavy, but it's going to be a heavy, high power battery. Okay, the more amps, the more parallel, the heavier the battery is, especially if you're going 72, 84, 96. You know what I mean? So it's you know what I mean? Even my 90 amp hour battery is almost 65 pounds. It's only 400 cells. So, you know, 260, 280, you know, cells to achieve your goal. You know, that's a lot of cells, you know. Anyways, I got a lot of work to do here. I just wanted to just get this video out the way, and I do got videos coming. I'm trying to space them out. I just want to start uploading back to back to back, and then all of a sudden I have one of those dry spells, you know what I mean, where I'm not uploading, you know what I mean. So, and the times are hard. Times are hard for everybody, even for me. I'm still digging in the bottom of my piggy bank, you know what I'm saying, trying to put gas in the car, or get a new house or anything like that. That's why I was asking for help at the end of the day, you know. And we almost there though. We almost there. We're almost there to secure that home, and just need a few more bucks. But we're getting there. And it took some selling. I had to sell one of the ATVs. And then I got to sell some stuff in the back that I don't use. I'm not a hoarder, but I know some things that I might have to use, like the press, for instance. You know, I have to press out the axles. I might have to sell that, and I might have to get a new press down the road, you know. So, but anyways, I'm going to go for the day, and just just listen to what I'm saying on this video, so that way y'all can make better decisions when purchasing your cells and start to build your battery. Okay. So all right, guys. So this is the E-bike guy channel, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.